Hello and welcome to First Issues Weekly, the compilation of the weekly comic review show, First Issues Now. Every day you can check out the newest First Issues reviewed over on the podcast, First Issues Now, or weekly in a batch like this, right here. I'm AJ Carey, the comic archivist, and these are the comics released for the week of September 17th, 2025. I swear someday soon I will be able to get back into having all of these being right on time, but it is what it is. And the rise in my allergies did not do any favors this week, but all in all, it was a good week in comics. I don't care about Deadpool. I'm ambivalent towards a book that has Batman as a selling point. I am, however, in love with the team-ups used as backup stories in this, so this might be a long one. Let's just get into it. This is Marvel DC Deadpool Batman number 1, with a lot of creative teams, so we'll go over them when we get to their stories. First up, the main one. Actually, before we get into that, first I want to suggest, next time, if they do this, when they do this next, can we get DC to handle the printing? Because this book in the hand feels cheaper than my reprint copies of public domain comics. Seriously, I think it's the size of the book that makes this feel worse than usual, but that's me complaining about physical media. No one cares about that anymore. Now, the first major story, Deadpool Batman number 1. Written by Zeb Wells, pencils by Greg Capullo, inks by Tim Townsend, colors by Alex Sinclair, with letters by Clayton Cowles. Long story short, Deadpool is hired by Joker to capture Batman. Bats uses Deadpool's insanity to make Joker feel bad. Joker doses him with toxin. Deadpool goes insane, blows stuff up. Basically, it is just a fun little romp. Now, I can't tell if I like it being so, we're only going to lampshade the easy jokes, or if I find it pretty cringy in Deadpool tradition. The next one is Wonder Woman and Captain America, written by Chip Zdarsky, pencils and colors by Terry Dodson, inks by Rachel Dodson, with letters by Joe Caramagna. Okay, this is probably the biggest section people keep talking about because, well, given last week's events, having Wonder Woman talk Captain America down from shooting Hitler in the face had people talking. You know, as if Chip wrote it in the last 5 days. Now, I think that it is an interesting litmus test because so many people were like, it's commentary about how DC is pro-Nazi because Captain America won't shoot Hitler in the face, and how dare Wonder Woman, the great warrior goddess, not be all about killing Hitler. She's done it before. Frankly, fuck you if you think Captain America and Wonder Woman as characters should and would kill a surrendering enemy. Yes, I've actually never been opposed to the idea that they are both warriors and they both can and have killed. But no. If you want to bring up Wonder Woman killing before, Maxwell Lord was literally never going to stop. It's what people complain about when it comes to that story. He was not a surrendering, pathetic mess like Hitler. He was literally there going with a lasso of truth around him. The only way to stop this is my death. What they are doing is it is justice to bring Hitler, yes, even Hitler, to trial. Because murder is sometimes too good for is wrong. It's kind of why Hitler is a bad person. It wasn't the racism. It was the murder. Although it is extra funny because no one ever continues on with after the "Is this justice?" panel. Because guess what? This is the day that Hitler picks up Captain America's 1911 and just shoots himself in the head. It kind of ends the point there, right? He was pathetic in life. His death was pathetic. That's how it goes. Now, the rest of the story is just kind of weird because it's the what-if history of this shared universe, where Wendy and Cap have a very beautiful life together as allies and maybe more. I also really love seeing Wonder Woman with Cap's shield at the end. I just think that's really cool. Yes, I think this is actually the best story out of this, and I wish it was the main arc instead of, what would be the 2 names that make us the most money? Let's look at the movies. The next one is actually my favorite, if not the best, and that is Jeff and Crypto, written by Kelly Thompson, art by Giri Hiri, with letters by Joe Caramagna. Crypto and Jeff play superpowered volleyball at the Fortress of Solitude. That's it. It's adorable, it is amazing, it is beautiful, and it is just all around sweet. Yes, this is also why you should really be reading the It's Jeff comics. Then there's Daredevil and Green Arrow, written by Kevin Smith, art by Adam Kubert, colors by Frank Martin, with letters by Joe Caramagna. I'm actually wondering how many people who's joined comics since the 2012 shakeups brought in new readers knew that Kevin Smith wrote for a Daredevil and Green Arrow book. Anyway, so Green Arrow and Daredevil are fighting hand ninjas and League of Assassin ninjas on different rooftops, apparently across the street. We know that they're both across the street because they both leap off of their roof, nearly hitting each other when they do, and then they fight ninjas together before Count Vertigo shows up, and Green Arrow uses Jack Murdoch's boxing glove to knock him out. I think that only actually really matters if you know that Kevin Smith's Green Arrow was a longbow hunter era, who only used pointy non-trick arrows sort of kind of guy. There's a quick Rocket has a Green Lantern ring now. Short, it's 2 pages, quick silliness, but it is kind of funny. Then there's Old Man Logan and Batman The Dark Knight Returns, with the writing and art by Frank Miller, colors by Alex Sinclair, with letters by Joe Caramagna. Batman and Logan fight. It's post-2000s Frank Miller book, it looks like shit, there's no real point, it's whatever. But I will actually say something, and this is off script, because several other names keep really trying to push this. It's a really big filter. People complaining about the art for Frank Miller. It's fucking Frank Miller, guys. No one has ever said he had good art. And when it comes to, experimental art, it's not experimental. It's just shit. At least one to defend comics that comes with, no, the art's not bad. Hell, I did it last week with Powers, where it's no, that's just his art style and everything like that. Frank Miller's art style, though, we agreed upon since at least Dark Knight Strikes Again, that it's kind of bad. And if you only give him 3 pages, it's going to be bad. I can never, and in 35 years, okay, that's not fair. Again, I think it's only post-2000s that he started really going, I'm Frank Miller, they just paid me $1 million to make a sequel to Dark Knight Returns. I don't have to try anymore. I'm glad we're trying to gas up comics, but let's not turn shit into Shinola here, boys. And finally, presenting the first amalgam character in 23 years? I don't know. Logo. Written by Ryan North, art by Ryan Stegman, colors by Frank Martin, with letters by Joe Caramagna. This is an all-new amalgam character that is supposed to be a combination of Wolverine and Lobo. I wish I cared, but all this really indicates is that Ryan North should be writing a Lobo book, and Ryan Stegman needs just to be on more stuff. Okay, now that we're done with all the official summaries and everything, what do I feel about this? On a strictly comic reader level, this is a mixed bag. There's nothing outright bad about it, although, again, I do think that the Frank Miller story is just because he's a name that will sell this, which annoys me because it's 3 pages, which could have had a lot more fun with Rocket, or maybe have Logo actually do something. He could also maybe have not just come off like Lobo, but with chains that he can shoot out of his knuckles. But overall, it is still a good book. I do, however, truly love what this represents for comics. After 20 plus years, Marvel and DC finally just said, yeah, let's do the thing that everyone keeps talking about. All while they've done crossovers with every other company in that time. Seriously, we got a Planet of the Apes Green Lantern book and a Marvel vs. Attack on Titans book in that time span before Marvel and DC decided to come together. So my verdict for this is going to be obvious. Collect it. Collect it means that while I know this is a one and done and you can't really pull it, there is so many damn covers to this, one for each of the stories and like a dozen more that should have been stories than some of the ones that are in here. Is it worth dropping $100 to collect all of the variants? Maybe not, but there's still a lot of great ones in there. And hey, if it takes another 20 years for them to do that, then this just goes up in value when paper becomes obsolete. You can't see that I put an XD in the script there. Oh well. I am intrigued by the black and white Boba Fett comic. Or any black and white Star Wars, really. I mean, the line work has to be on extra point or else it gets a lot of white on the page. Well, this time there'll at least be some red, I assume with that title. So this is Star Wars Boba Fett Black and White #1. Written by Benjamin Percy, pencils by Chris Allen, inks by Chris Allen and Craig Young, colors by Rochelle Rosenberg, with letters by Joe Caramagna. As is our new tradition, let's begin with a solicit. Boba Fett finds himself trapped in a situation he seemingly can't get out of. The Empire and an extreme rebel faction are after the same bounty. Fett needs to track down an individual who has played both sides, and to make things even more impossible, his target is hiding out on a volatile volcanic system. His target is hiding out in a volatile volcanic system. Well, of all the solicit I've used, that's probably the best descriptor since it is essentially the story and kind of the summary that I would use. Everyone wants something from Boba Fett, so how does the coolest clone get out of it alive and fulfilling all the contracts? Now, I know that sounds actually really simple, and that's because it is, but it is also a great reason to say, wow, that's really good writing. A simple premise does not equal bad writing. For a good reason, this never feels like Boba Fett is just going along with it. He is buffeted around between these teams without ever feeling like, oh man, he's just along for the ride. It is legitimately a great one-off story, and it's visually... Well, let's talk about that. I made a joke in the cold open about how you needed good line work in this, or else it all seems a little static or bare or a coloring book. But this definitely has the opposite of that. It is really dynamic and kinetic, with the red coloring becoming more of an art brush alongside the black and white, though the actual line work and inking is really good. I will say there was a couple of panels that I had a little double take on, but I think that might have just been the size of the panels as I was switching through them. It took a minute for my brain to readjust. It's not bad by any means. Again, I think it was just a quick, wait, what? While looking at the panels filling the screen. So my verdict on this puppy is... read it. Read it means it is absolutely worth reading, and potentially you may dig it enough to add to your collection or onto your pull list. It looks like this run of Boba Fett is going to be an episodic bit, but who knows? They may go for a longer serialized arc later on. Oh, a new Creepshow comic. I mean, I've never shied away from saying how much I love me some classic horror anthologies, and first two Creepshow movies are sheer EC fun. No, I haven't seen that third one yet, or the TV show. Someone in the comments let me know where to watch them. Until then, it's time to dive into Creepshow number 1. We have 2 stories, so I'll bring up the creatives as they pop up. But first, our newest tradition, reading the solicit copy. Yay! In the debut of the 4th volume, writer Jeremy Adams and artist Eduardo Rizzo bring you a tale as old as time. A younger woman, an older man, and $1 million estate. Then, writer Rosie Knight and artist Oliver Ono's sinister story follows an aspiring writer getting a remote rental to focus on his work with only a single caveat from the owner. Don't enter the little house on the left. Well, that'll wet your whistle as we get into the first story, Tale as Old as Time. Written by Jeremy Adams, art by Eduardo Rizzo, colors by Mike Spicer, with letters by Pat Brasseau. Wow. I really shouldn't have started with the solicits on this because, yeah. Basically, the rundown of the plot is a young woman marries an old guy, potentially for his money, and that backfires for her. I'll try not to bring up the twist, but let's say that the old man can and does do what Batman wasn't allowed to do to Catwoman over at DC Comics. That is a timely joke, yeah. After a brief ad break about how you can get the first 2 volumes of Creepshow, which were Eisner nominated and definitely worth owning, just an FYI, as we go into The Little House on the Left, written by Rosie Knight, art by Oliver Ono, with letters by Pat Brasseau. Well, that is definitely something pretty interesting. Basically, it's a deep, thoughtful meditation on the jealousy that can rise up in a man when the women in his life are more successful and creative than himself. Or it was a really good yarn that makes you think that it's going to be a bit more natural murder before the giant squid-faced starspawns show up. Take your pick. This was a fairly quicker read than any of the other horror anthologies I've had to cover on the show, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Instead of being a 40 or 50 page book with several stories in it, it is a tidy standard length 20. I almost prefer this. Now, of course, that could be because I do 10 to 15 episodes for this show a week. I also do the 15-minute podcast too, and everything else going on in my life, so a relatively quick read may actually be preferable, but that's comics for you. A comic doesn't have to be a long read with giant morals and ethical narratives. A good read in between the insanity of my life is truly one of the best things. Maybe that'll be my soapbox for this episode. Well, rather a continuation of my opening from 2 weeks ago's closer, where people necessarily forget that comics don't have to be long-form reads. A good one and done, and that makes you glad you read it, can be good. And this book is in fact good. Two tales that follow the Creepshow over-the-topness and last page or two twists are what leads these stories to be fun reads. Not all horror needs to be a metaphysical breakdown of the soul. Sometimes the best answer is a gold digger getting cut up and eaten by a dude old enough to be a congressman. So my verdict for this book is, buy it. Buy it means that it absolutely should be put onto your digital pull list, as well as grabbing a physical copy, because horror comics are always a little extra je ne sais quoi when it's a physical read. I'd also up it to a collect it, because you should check out the past volumes of Creepshow, and while I will probably cover it when it comes out, the Super Creepshow comic comes out October 8th. Oh, and what the hell, watch the Creepshow movies and the TV show thing that came out too. Why not? I think they're all available free on Tubi or Pluto or one of those. I'm about to lose some nerd points here, but I have never been into Magic the Gathering. Oh, I've absolutely played the game, and I can't say swamp the same since my friend Dana kept saying it that way while we were all having fun in my loft. Don't get weird about that. College kids in a loft apartment doing weird stuff like playing card games isn't weird. It only got weird when I suggested that they should be on motorcycles. Anyways, this should be interesting as I miss every reference to the lore in Magic the Gathering Untold Stories, Elspeth, number 1. Written by Dan Waters, art by Owen Gainey, colors by Hilary Jenkins, with letters by Clayton Cowles. Okay, that was actually a pretty cool comic, but first the solicit. Elspeth is dead, but her story is not yet over. The sun god Heliod, having grown envious of his champion, struck her down to the underworld. There she is forced to relive the worst moments of her life for all eternity. But Elspeth does not submit to despair. She emerges from each conflict a greater hero than before. And for a great hero like Elspeth, what is death but another challenge to overcome? So yeah, holy hell, dude, that was righteous, actually. So again, I have no idea who Elspeth is, what the Theros Beyond Death thing is, though I'm being told it was the 2020 expansion drop for Magic, and I'm actually also being told that this is actually the only writing that the drop had for an official storyline, although there were saga cards. No, I have no idea what the hell a saga card is. I'm truly not going to try and explain and deconstruct a card game through a comic book and waiting for text messages to come through. That would actually be a pretty fun live stream, though. Go support the Carry On Production Patreon and bug Sam to greenlight that. So, as a comic, this rocks. There's a lot of names and a lot of things thrown at you when it comes to the lore, but I think Theros Beyond Death, essentially being a Greek-coded drop all the way down, really carries itself very highly when it comes to that lore without ever feeling bogged down by it. It's not like you see Heliod and go, well, I can't possibly understand an asshole Zeus analog, or even when she breaks through the torments in hell by whatever planeswalker that is. It feels mythical, and not just because it uses analogies and rhyming notions from the Greek pantheon and mythology overall. Frankly, I think Dan Waters is a great writer. He has a generalized blueprint with the deck released in 2020, and was able to kind of just plug and play with the pieces to brilliant success here. But I have to say, without the art, this would only be a good read. That art makes it great. Well, the art makes it so much more. The raw emotion that Gainey and Jenkins put into this, be it the heartbreak as Elspeth relives her moments, or even when you have a cosmic force being worried that Elspeth is actually breaking death. It just makes it an awe-inspiring comic to see as much as read. Now, I did read this digitally, which has it looking great, but the physical I bummed from a friend just to flip through really shows off why this talent is something special. My verdict, and I am legitimately shocked to say this, is buy it. Buy it means that it should be added to your pull list. You should buy this issue and any variant cover for it, and be on the edge of your seat waiting for that next issue. Somehow, it feels like if Kratos and Red Sonja had a god-slaying baby, and I love it. It makes me want to check out the cards, too. Damn it. So, spoiler alert, fans. I have never been a pubescent girl. Shocking, I know. So when I see a book named Flow with a girl going through what looks to be her first period on the cover, I'm really annoyed that my wonderful sister chose to do Casey Jones this week for Sammy's picks. Oh well, let's gush into... Oh god, I shouldn't have written that. Flow number 1, written by Paula Sevenberger, art by Claudia Balboni, colors by Fabi Marks, with letters by Jody Troutman. Before I try my best to not sound like a dude about all of this, Let's jump into the solicit. When blood began to run down Dara Lund's leg at nature camp, she thought she was dying. Homeschooled by a protective dad about her mom's mysterious death, Dara wasn't told the facts of life. It's the curse, her bunkmate said, not revealing it was her period. But we could lift it if you do everything we say. So began their week of torment, making naive Dara do torturous tasks for their amusement. But now, 10 years later, as they embark on their careers, the three tormentors find themselves cursed. So they reunite to track down the likely source, a vengeful Dara, and they'll pursue her to the bloody end. Oh well, with a solicit like that, I don't actually think I have to make any more jokes pretending to be a boy who's upset about the notion of women bleeding for days and not dying. I was raised by my mother and sister. I have a lady best friend since I was 8. I've lived with women my entire life. Periods are gross, and they do suck, but that's a fact of life. Random guys listening, just letting you know. Just chuck a Snickers at their head, hide until they want something. Then you do what they ask. You do what they say or else woe befall you. Okay, that's enough of me being silly. Time to actually talk about the comic. The solicit gives a premise, and it's a hell of a premise. Actually, while reading the solicit, I was wondering if we were going to get more of a Valentine's Day sort of revenge story. You know, something that was grounded and everything like that. Even when one of the bullies named Alistair shows up to the focal point girl in this, Mo, at her lab job to show the random bloodstains keep appearing on their clothes in public, I was like, oh, that's actually a weird thing, but yeah, I could kind of see how a writer could say that Dara was doing it by, like, walking up in public and all that. But then, by the time Mo pukes up a rhino beetle at the end, I'm starting to think that this is a ghost revenge story, and I'm here for that. I will say that as a kid who was bullied, though, there's definitely some uncomfortable scenes, although I don't think they hit too close to home for me, seeing as I've never had to deal with, well, some of the things in this in my life. No reason boners are not the same as having your bloody underwear on a tree, is all I'm saying. The art, I think, comes off as a very classic 90s or noughties horror comic, where there's a bit of a looser model work, so when the focus is on a character, the line work is crisp and nice, but when things get a little frenetic, it can loosen up. That sort of thing. It's not bad by any means. So my verdict for this comic is simple. Pull it. Pull it means that it should definitely be onto your preferred pull list. I pulled it digitally, but mostly on the grounds that if it went into a weird way that I've seen some period-centric horror stuff go, I probably wouldn't have dug it, and I didn't want a physical copy. But it is a great book, so I kind of want it now in a physical copy. The next one should be great too. Feels weird to go into the Cowboys and move Mesa after this, though. But hey, that's just how this job works. You know, in the script I have it written, sing the theme song. And honestly, the only thing that's popping into my head is the Dinosaur Train theme song. And hey, don't judge me though. This show was my jam when I was a kid. 30 years ago. I had the tapes and even dressed as Dakota Dude one Halloween. It was a simpler time. It was a funner time. Let's see how this Nacelleverse works out in Wild West C.O.W-boys of Moo Mesa #1. Written by Matt Hodson, art by Juan Gedeon, colors by Carlos Cabrera, with letters by Jeff Powell. As is our newest tradition, we begin with the solicit. Well, a trimmed version, cutting the marketing edges off of it. Sorry. Before he takes the badge right into the lawless border town of Moo Mesa, as we meet Marshal Moo Montana in his earliest adventure yet. In a time gripped by fear and uncertainty, disorder pervades the desert, and its citizens have started to go missing, including Moo's former mentor, the respected Sheriff Mary Quine. With shadows growing across the mesa, Moo must navigate old grudges, new alliances, and a conspiracy that reaches deep into the heart of the mesa's past. Well, I personally couldn't have said it better myself. But yeah, this is a fresh deputized Moo Montana, and a quick history of why there's a world of anthropomorphic animals, how Moo learns about the Code of the West, and then his first day as Marshal in Cowtown. Frankly, while this is about a bunch of anthro-mooers, it's also a pretty fantastic western. As someone who's played the Lone Ranger before, and you can still listen to me very much not get the voice at all over on Retrostatic Radio, I also grew up with westerns, red western comics, and everything like that. So when I say that this is a legitimately good western book, believe it. Moo comes off as a brilliant white hat good guy. Baloney and Terrible aren't at the immediate bad guy level that they will be in the show, but I do think we know how the contest to break the missing persons case will end. Plus, seeing Dakota Duke and the Colorado Kid introduced, and even hopping in to help when the mechanical Dark Horse baddie kidnaps Cody Colt, it's all just really good. Although I'm not sure I like how Lily seems to be drawn half Taylor Swift from Cats in some parts, but either way, that's the nature of the artistic beast. Speaking of all that, the art in this is my favorite brand of adapting a cartoon art. It's on model for the most part, but plays with these models so that you can get expressions and movements that just are so damn good that you wouldn't see in the show. Like the standard tin can shooting scene that every Western needs to have. After a Mary Quine outshoots the young Moo, he has this derpiest look on his face that really gives so much character to the moment. And that's not even getting into how much I just love the Amor-dillos that show up. I think Terrible is who gets the best treatment from this. Being the biggest damn slab of meat alive really translates to comics well. Worked for Batman, works for evil corrupt bulls. So my verdict for this fun on a bun romp is simple, obvious, and masterful. The verdict is, collect it. Collect it means that you should absolutely have this on your digital pull list. You should be getting not just the physical on your pull list, but go for all of the variant covers, and do the same for the next issue. This book is utterly fantastic. Probably my least favorite of the relaunch of Valiant in the 2010s, which was still good, mind you, don't get me wrong. I'm legitimately curious about how this one goes, because it's never really been revamped the same way twice. The cover really gives off a pulpy sci-fi feel, so let's dive into Valiant Beyond, the XO Man-of-War #1. Written by Steve Orlando, art by Guillermo Fajardo, colors by Lautaro Tulli, flats by Ludwig Alimba, with letters by Ezekiel Lavergne. Huh, that was in fact neat. First, the solicit. The mighty Eric of Dacia, aka XO Man-of-War, traverses a deadly wasteland filled with mutated horrors in the search of honor in this can't-miss debut from GLAAD Award-nominated writer Steve Orlando and superstar artist Guillermo Fajardo. Eric's strength and resilience are put to the test when he comes to the defense of a family under siege from a mysterious gang known as Earthborn. Eric finds himself aligned with a rebel group, which puts him firmly in the crosshairs of the Earthborn's leader, Typhon. Can Eric survive his journey across the Red Steppes? Well, the answer there is yeah, probably. But boy howdy, was this something. So the solicit covers the basic plotting we get from Orlando, and it's a great read if you're into the diesel punk scene, which I am. It's very Mad Max, but what I think makes this work for me specifically is that I know the previous books. No, this isn't you have to know the past to enjoy this. It is very much new version, new character, new origin, as the cover says. But what I mean from that is that this new Eric of Dacia is still very much a Visigoth, but instead of being transported to the 20th century or the future, you have basically the Shannara armor on a Visigoth sent into Mad Max land. I think that actually makes this even cooler, and I love it. And this is only the first issue, mind you, but it does showcase who Eric is and why he loves the Dacia Sandero so much. That is a joke that I don't think anyone will get. I will not be apologizing at this time. The art also just makes this book for me. Sure, the landscapes are just shades of dusty brown, but I think, one, the art makes them really look pretty, as well as being a perfect background to a hard-hitting action-adventure comic that feels like a pulp book more in line with Conan. No, I totally see this being more an Italian fantasy adventure genre movie, where you would have him played by Reg Parker, Pietro Torrisi. Yes, I had a classical film education. Why do you ask? Like, this just screams B-movie that would use all the props you could find in the warehouse from every Mad Max knockoff movie. Literally exploding the truck in this would be the only spot their budget really showed. Well, that and Coke. I mean, yes, Coke. Cool, refreshing Coca-Cola for the crew on those hot shoot days in the desert. I do say all of that with love, though. Anyways, my verdict for this book is most definitely a buy it. Buy it means that you should totally add this to your digital pull list, your physical pull list, and any of the variants that can catch your eye are most definitely worth owning. I'll always be down to clown with something that makes me want to watch your Hunter of the Future. This is a comic that I've been extremely excited about since I saw the first preview for it way back, and I have nothing really even to say before we get into it, so let's get into it. This is The Blue Falcon and Dyno-Mutt #1. Written by Jimmy Palmiotti, art by Pascal Colano, colors by Jorge Sutil, with letters by Jeff Eckelberry. I do have some things to say, but first, the solicit. Secure in their luxury penthouse high above the downtown streets, wealthy inventor and art collector Radley Crown and his faithful canine companion enjoyed a charmed existence, until the fateful day a vicious gang of thugs shattered his complacency. In the aftermath of the vicious attack, Crown focused his incredible technological skill to rebuild both himself and his four-legged companion into the ultimate instrument of retribution, the Blue Falcon and Dyno-Mutt, Dog Wonder. So I'm not very quiet when it comes to how much I love Jimmy Palmiotti's writing. But I also really should say that there is an asterisk kind of attached to that. Is he a perfect writer? No, but I don't think even he would say that he is. Because something that people, especially nerds like myself, tend to forget is that a writer can only ever write from his own place. Now, I don't mean that a white writer can't write a person of color, or that a man can't write a woman, or anything like that. I mean that the writer has their own voice that they bring to what they do. You wouldn't go to Grant Morrison to write the Care Bears, even if that would just be the ending to Final Crisis again, but the voice is different is what I mean. So Palmiotti being the writer on a Blue Falcon and Dyno-Mutt reboot is going to give a very specific voice that I do know some people are complaining about, but I'm not going to. I do want to say that he is a versatile writer, though, and I want to make it clear that first off, when I see his name, I know that I'm going to get a comic that's big on character and dialogue. I will say the only negative I do have on this is that it does feel a little slanted on the pacing for me. But I think that might even out with a trade read. Or it could have just been a want to have the big ending hook being what it is, and I don't want to spoil it. However, I also won't ignore that when I read the solicit, I was expecting a book that had a scientist going full Charles Bronson and using his tech to become Blue Falcon and making an abomination of a dog that is Dyno-Mutt. But not really, since he is kind of Blue Falcon at the start of this, and he does seem like he's about ready to become a big blue Boy Scout before the home invasion. Again, that's not bad, it's just weird that it felt so safe of a book, with a very bland tone up until the last act. But then again, that could easily be the point, given that Radley is living a very sterile and complacent, and while he's making these good leaps forward, is kind of in a very safe bubble up until the very end. So that could easily be me just being very overly nitpicky about it. As for the art, it's good. Not great, mind you, but it shows glimpses of greatness when the story allows it to. The opening dream sequence and the action towards the end really do showcase that it will open up later. Again, I think what holds this book back the most in any way is that it feels a little bit more that it's weighted towards the trade read, so the pacing is designed for an overall read, not necessarily issue by issue. That leads me to the verdict, and I know I may have come off a little bit negative about this book, but I honestly do really, really like it. Which is why my verdict is, buy it. Buy it means that you should add it to your digital pull list, get a physical copy, as well as all the variant covers, because they're all really good. Yes, it would be cliched to say that the Amanda Connor cover is awesome, but I'll stand by that. I'm a sucker for Elseworlds, even if they're not called Elseworlds anymore. Plus, this is a black label too. That means added fun. Although it does also mean that we still can't see Bruce Wayne's shadowy Wang. So, that knocks some points off already. Look, I'm kidding. I do like me some 1940s Batman, so let's get into The Batman, Second Night, number 1. Written by Dan Jurgens, art by Mike Perkins, colors by Mike Spicer, with letters by Simon Boland. Before we get into the book, it's time for the solicit. The year is 1940. Most of the Western world is embroiled in a war against a fascist regime who marches across Europe showing no signs of defeat. With the specter of global war looming, it's a time of fear and paranoia for living in Gotham. It's only been a couple months since the city was rescued from undead monsters by the masked vigilante known as Batman. But a vicious killer has been on a murder spree that's taking the city to its breaking point. My allergies are killing me, I can't do that voice anymore. Bodies are turning up in theatrically gruesome ways, all staged with the killer's calling card, a hangman's noose. While the Batman endeavors to solve the spate of murders, a young reporter from the Daily Star named Lois Lane arrives in Gotham. Meant to cover a movie premiere, it doesn't take long for Lois to find herself caught in the grips of a new villain in Gotham, one whose mastery of fear will plunge the city into chaos. Yes, that is actually a great summary of the book, but I'd like to go one step further. The opening murder in this is a man being tied to the tongue of the biggest bell in the Church of Gotham to be splattered when it's rung. That is sick, it's twisted, and I love it. Thank you, Dan. I do want to say that I don't usually cover the 50 plus prestige stuff on here, but frankly, I just wanted to give a shout out to a classic Batman story that also looks phenomenal. Yes, there's a little bit more blood in it than usual, but honestly, it really only feels like the opening scene has any of the gore, and the detective and psychological thriller angle of this is just what I like in one of my Bat books. But frankly, the writing is great, and this art is what makes it just crackerjack, spiffy, A1 goated with the sauce. It has an Art Deco painted look that gives the noir style this great atmosphere, and oddly, I think this is the art style that makes Golden Age Batman's design actually pop so much harder than it ever has any right to. Yes, this is a sequel story, but I don't think there's anything that's lost in not reading that. I should know, I didn't read First Night, although I am going back to do that now. So my verdict for this comic is, buy it. Buy it means that it should be on your pull list. I'd say definitely a physical on this at the very least. And don't forget that this is a sequel, so check out the Batman First Night, where he apparently saves Gotham from undead monsters. Batman really has a weird history, huh? I feel like we really don't give enough credit to solo acts in comic books. A writer-artist combo is pretty rare in today's comic ecosystem, but then again, I don't want to give an overinflated sense of worth to this. What if it's not good, right? So let's find out together in No Man's Land, number 1. Created, written, and drawn by Szymon Kudranski. As is the new norm, first let's hit the solicit. Diomede Island. For 3 months each year, you can walk from the U.S. to Russia across an ice bridge, a frozen path known as the Ice Curtain. In 1963, when the body of a young woman is discovered on this icy no man's land, the already fragile relationship between the superpowers threatens to collapse. With nuclear tensions rising, an FBI agent and a KGB operative must solve the murder before the ice melts and war ignites. Before I get into the writing, I want to say that I really dig the art on this. It's a realistic style that may come off as static, but it allows for the dialogue and the narration to be what it is. Basically, it is a style to have this comic feel as cinematic as possible, and boy does it. But I already know a couple of people who won't like this book because it's as much of a talkie as you can get without actually being outright prose. But that's actually where I found being engaged to it. As much as I really like the art, Kudranski is, in my eyes, first and foremost a prose writer who uses the comic panels to give a setting for the narration and dialogue to take center stage. But that doesn't mean that the two are divorced either. It accentuates a lot of what's going on. Like when you have a scene where the lead is being walked out on by his wife, the dialogue is pinpoint precise to give you the whole story without wasting any words to express the relationship up to that point as she walks out. And then the art hangs there like a camera to show the atmosphere and the hurt as he then goes to do his job. It's that sort of detail that makes a comic like this great, and what a one creator operation can do when they have the talent to back it up. So my verdict for this is most definitely pull it with an asterisk. Pull it means that it should be added directly onto your pull list, be it digital or physical. I think the art looks better physical, but it still looks amazing digitally too. The asterisk is that, again, this is a bit wall of texty at times, and it isn't an action book. So if you're expecting an edge-of-your-seat thrill ride that's a quick scan with your eyes to continue, this is not that. This is a thriller of a book. At least so far. Who knows what the next issues may bring? A new crime drama by the team that gave us Stray Bullets, and it's set in a small town where there's a seedy underbelly of family feuds and that ain't how we do things round these parts mentality. Son of a bitch, I'm in. This is Good as Dead number 1. Written by David and Maria Lapham. David is also the art and letters on this, with D. Knief on colors. God, I love this book already. But first, before we talk about it, the solicit. The emissary bridge has always connected the citizens of Port Linden to hope and opportunity. But when one man shockingly sets himself on fire, the bridge now brings something else to the town. Certain death. As the town's lead lawman, Sheriff David Calhoun, will need to stay one step ahead of the forces looking to take his town apart. If he has any chance of bringing the truth to light, he'll need to expose generations of secrets while outrunning death itself. Seriously though, I really like this. Now, the solicit is a pretty good premise, but the devil will always be in the details. I mean, that bridge that gets brought up in that is actually the focal point of a major sweet Jesus moment in this, paired with a more personal sweet Jesus moment with Sheriff Calhoun. But I don't want to spoil. I want to just tell you guys that this book rocks, but I am a sucker for this kind of thing. Sheriff Calhoun is a member of a family that's been integrated into the town, who is at odds with another family, but it's not done in a way that a lot of crime dramas would play it. I mean, yes, he is the underdog here, but it's not played like two mob families are going to war, but kind of just how it plays in the real world. A family has been around long enough in a small town to have a natural power grow behind it, and some people know how to swing it. And even then, it's not all-encompassing. It's a great feeling that I don't think really ever gets played up. It's usually some direct Hatfield-McCoy stuff without any real nuance. But that's just focusing on one of the stories here. The deputy in this town is freshly back because of a man. Dave's sister is a bit unhinged, living in a shack in the woods after their father killed himself. It's all just the best sorts of Actually, the best way I can explain it is there's a scene in this. I'm going to try not spoiling it. There's a scene in this where Calhoun gets his upper lip cut open with a switchblade. And it reminds me of a scene so much from Chinatown where Jack Nicholson gets his nose cut, that I'm wondering if this is essentially going to end with a forget about it, Dave. It's small town USA. And I think the art is also what helps make this world feel, well, again, in that kind of Chinatown feel. Not necessarily grimy, though, but definitely lived in and worn. The colors are a bit dull. The line work is a bit shakier with heavy inks. That it is just a great looking book that pairs very well with the setting. So naturally, my verdict can be no less than buy it. Buy it means that you should have it on your digital pull list, so when the next issue comes out, you have it. You should also have it on a physical pull list, and buy it when it comes out in trade. And honestly, if you haven't checked out one of the seminal comics in this genre, check out Stray Bullets as well. I know this is a lot shorter of an episode for me, especially since this is nearly a double-sized book, but you need to read it, my dudes, and I need to go pop some allergy pills and go back to bed. Hi, I'm AJ Carey. This may be my channel, but this is not my show. This is Sammy's Picks. Basically, once a week, my co-host on Killing 15 Minutes, Mything 15 Minutes, and Blanking 15 Minutes, oh, and she's also my sister, picks a new release from our first issues pool that she wants to talk about, as a barely literate casual comic reader. So, time for the Casual Comicist. This shall be fun.
Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, I'm your friendly neighborhood casual comicist, Sam Rossi. And this is Sammy's Picks. Sorry if I sound bad. New York State is killing me. I mean that and the fact that my allergies are killing me. Not, well. Anyways, this week we are pulling from September 10th, 2025. I know I'm late. I really am a sucker for Speed Racer. So I had to read Mad Cave Studios Racer X. I know. I already reviewed a Speed Racer book. Well, that was number 1 of the current series, and I have read issues too. So imagine my excitement when I found Racer X number 1 was released. Because I love new comic book days, and when it happens for me. Anyways, let's acknowledge people. Writer Mark Russell. Artist, colorist Nanu Patai. And letters, because lettering is an art, Buddy Bodine. You tell me which. Come on. Somebody tell me how to pronounce his name. The cover is a great representation of Racer X, showing him in his mask to hide who he is, as he protects his brother and takes down the Tiger Syndicate from the inside. The book bounces between the past and the future. We get to see what happened to Rex Racer. From his failed time with the Cat Racing team in the Racing X series. Driver X? Oh man, I knew this. The X series. To his time as a getaway driver for the Tiger Syndicate, to him becoming Racer X to protect his brother Speed. I love it. It goes well with the new Speed Racer series. I enjoyed the artwork. It does have more movement and feel of speed happening than the original Speed Racer book. Or the newer Speed Racer books. I devoured this book. I couldn't get enough of it. The letters were perfect. No need to zoom on my copy. So this is a must read. It leaves you ready for the next book to drop, and has you excited for what's happening on the next episode. So I can't wait. But what do I know? I'm the Casual Comicus, and let me know what you think on Facebook at Carry On Productions or on Twitter at Carry On Prod. I'm Sam Rossi, the Casual Comicus, and this was Sammy's Picks. See you between the pages, Inklings. Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, I'm Sam Rossi, the Casual Comicus, and this is Sammy's Picks, where I, the casual comic reader, review first issues of some of my favorite comic series or new favorites. Basically, if it's number one, I get to pick it. I picked IDW's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Casey Jones. I know, it's my third Turtles-related review. You heard the summary. I'm a casual when it comes to comics, and I like Ninja Turtles, as previously stated. So, it's all good. Before we get into the meat of it, we will acknowledge our wonderful creative team. On story, we have Alex Padnella. On art, we have Amansi Nahulapan. That was bad. Nahulapan. On colors, we have Luis Antonio Delgado. And last, but most important to the storytelling, lettering and design was done by Darren Robinson. And there's our crew, guys. I will make my choice for my comic based on the title. Is it something I know? Will I be interested in it? I've been hesitant to read new Turtle books due to the only bad review I gave, but that was based off the original series, and I guess I'm not a fan of the original run of the Turtles. And because that hurt to me, we now know what the low bar is. We just have to keep going higher from there. Looking at the cover, I think it will be different from any other Turtle book I've reviewed. I'm reading the last run, and so that's where the high bar currently sits. So, this cover has groove, it's got meaning. It has a gritty look with some neon thrown in. I like it. I'm hoping it continues to have the same 90s dark feel to it. Let's see what's in store for us. Alright, I read the comic twice. I have no idea what's going on in the Turtles world. Casey Jones seems to have been shot by a mayor. April has barely left his side. Getting stir crazy, he did what he did best, hunting down bullies. That's pretty much what most bad guys are. They are bullies. Something is going on with the mutants, and humans are getting some type of power up, which was kind of cool because he really did kick ass. The Turtles show up, beat the crap out of the gang. Raph has a heart-to-heart with Casey, which leads Casey to walking away into a trap, most likely. Who knows? It ended there. I really had no clue what I was reading. It was English, and I comprehend most of the time when the letters stay put. But I really I wasn't lost. I was more confused. I guess I needed a backstory on what the hell was going on. I'll be reading more because the artwork was perfect for Casey Jones' comic. It's dark. It's gritty. It really has that 90s Turtle feel from the original 1990 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. It was great. The story should flesh out at some point, and I do want to know more. So that's something to keep in mind. The lettering, perfect. No criticism. I could not find fault with them. Great job. I know how hard lettering is. So, I'm going to read it. If I want, if not need, to understand what this first book was about. So if you're a Turtles fan and have an idea what's going on, you'll love the first issue. If you're like me, a casual, you might be as lost as I am. But what if I'm wrong? Let me know on Carry On Productions on Facebook or Carry On Prod on Twitter. And remember, forgiveness is defined, but never pay full price for late pizza. I'm Sam Rossi, the Casual Comicus. See you in the sewers, Inklings.
With all of that, though, maybe I'm wrong, or I missed a comic worth talking about. Let me know in the comments on the YouTube video version of this, on whatever podcast platform you're listening on, or on social medias at The Comic Archivist on Facebook, AJC_does-it-all on Twitter, and even on Blue Sky at AJC-does-it-all without any underscore. I'm always open to being told how wrong I am about the current mainstream and indie books alike. Don't forget to like, share, follow, subscribe, and all the other stuff that I'm being told I need to say to keep this show going again. Don't forget to check out the other carry-on production podcasts like Killing 15 Minutes, Mything 15 Minutes, and Blinking 15 Minutes. They're great, I promise. More than anything, though, remember, stay golden, Inklings.